if I put the garland on before I take that off, it wrecks the garland. So. Hearing from Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Shri Chaitanya Manobhastam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swami Prabhupada. All opulence. Krishna is full in all opulences, namely strength, wealth, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. When Krishna was present in Dwarka, his family, who is known as the Yadu dynasty, consisted of 560 million members. So it must have been quite big, Dwarka. And all of these family members were very obedient and faithful to Krishna. There were more than 900,000 big palatial buildings. So there was 560 million, and there was about 1 million buildings. So one big building for every 56 people. There to house all the people, and everyone in them respected Krishna as the most worshipful devotees. Devotees were astonished to see the opulence of Krishna. So I read that at night, while the Yadu dynasty was sleeping, Yogamaya arranged that they float across in their sleep to Dwarka. When they woke up in the morning, they were in Dwarka. This was verified by Bilvamangala Thakur when in Krishna Karnamrita he addressed Krishna thus, "My dear Lord, what can I say about the opulence of your Vrindavan? Simply the ornaments on the legs of the damsels of Vrindavan are more than Chintamani, and the dresses are as good as Sarabi cows in the transcendental abode. Therefore your opulence is just like an ocean that no one can measure." Shri Krishna Bhagavan Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's Canto 7, and it's chapter 15, instructions for civilized human beings. So we had ideal family life, and now civilized human beings. And it's text 5. Oh, sorry, 4. Desha Kalochita Shraddha. Desha Kalochita Shraddha. Dravya Patrahanani Cha. Dravya Ranani Cha. Samyag Naitani. Samyag Bhavanti Naitani. Vistarat Swa Janapanat. Vishtarat Swa Janapanat. Desha Kalochita Shraddha. Dravya Patra Hanani Cha. Samyak Bhavanti Naitani. Vistarat Swajanapanat. Deshakalochita Shraddha. Dravya Patra Hanani Cha. Samyak Bhavanti Naitani. Vistarat Swajanapanat. Deshakalochita Shraddha. Dravya patra hanani cha samyak bhavanti naitani Vishtarat swajanarpanat Deshakalo chita shraddha Dravya patra hanani cha Samyak bhavanti naitani Vishtarat swajanarpanat Deshakalo chita shraddha Dravya patra hanani cha Samyak bhavanti naitani Vishtarat swajanarpanat Deshakalo chita shraddha Kavyapatra hanani cha Samyagavanti haitani Samyagavanti Desha, place, kala, time, uchita, proper, shraddha, respect, dravya, ingredients, patra, a suitable person, ahanani, paraphernalia for worship, cha, and, samyak, proper, bhavanti, are, na, not, etani, all these, vistarat, due to expansion, swajana apanat, or due to inviting relatives. If one arranges to feed many Brahmins or relatives during the Shraddha ceremony, there will be discrepancies in the time, place, respectability, and ingredients, the person to be worshipped, and the method of offering worship. Responsibly, please. If one arranges to feed many Brahmins or relatives during the Shraddha ceremony, there will be discrepancies in the time, place, respectability, and ingredients, the person to be worshipped, and the method of offering worship. Narada Muni has prohibited unnecessarily gorgeous arrangements to feed relatives or Brahmins during the Shraddha ceremony. Those who are materially opulent spend lavishly during this ceremony. Indians spend especially lavishly on 3 occasions: at the birth of a child, at marriage, and while observing the Shraddha ceremony. But the Shastras prohibit the excessive expenditures involved in inviting many Brahmins and relatives during the Shraddha ceremony, especially during the Shraddha ceremony. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksharam Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhustam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Paditanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, a technical point being brought up here, that when observing the ceremony, it shouldn't be done too lavishly. And although Prabhupada mentions that there's 3 times, birth, marriage, and the Shraddha ceremony, it's especially the Shraddha ceremony that they should keep it simple and not unnecessarily gorgeous. So sometimes how people can be bewildered and distracted by the flowery words of the Vedas, by the opulence And the promises, there's so many promises in the Vedas of all kinds of benefits that can be there, material benefits that can be there. And a person can become distracted by these flowery words and miss the whole point, which is to get free from the repetition of birth and death. So here again, excessive, so atyahara, prayasas, unnecessarily over-endeavoring, and collecting all kinds of paraphernalia, and so much so that then the real purpose of the human form of life, we become distracted from that. So that is, the human form of life is also compared to a boat. Natvam sandashito datra dushtaram nishtititam kalam safaharam pamsam kanadana ivanavam. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross over this difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. So when you're sailing across an ocean, you're constantly having to, the way they steer is they oversteer one way and then they oversteer another way. And in this way, they navigate their way through the ocean to stay on course. So similarly, we have so many rules and regulations, niyama, but then agraha or agraha is, are you following them too strictly or are you rejecting them too whimsically? And it's difficult for a person to know, oh, I went too strict. Oh, I went too loose, because this is what we're doing all the time. Oh, too strict, too loose, too strict, too loose. But we're staying on course because we know the general direction that we're supposed to be going in. And that's why we need the spiritual master. Or that's why we need Srila Prabhupada or somebody in line with Srila Prabhupada when we talk about the spiritual master, at least in ISKCON anyway. So then the spiritual master will say, okay, you're getting a bit too fanatical with the rules and regulations here, or you're getting a little bit whimsical here, a little bit loose with the rules and regulations, and you're losing sight of the goal again. So in this way, we stay on course. The spiritual master is able to do that because he can see the star, the pole star, which is generally how they navigate. Everything else in the heavens moves, but the pole star stays the same. Pole star is the pivot. The whole universe is revolving around and it stays fixed. And the pole star Dhruvaloka is an interesting planet for those that are only able to hear. Then they go to the planet where the pious dwell. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains that that planet is the pole star. So that's for souls who have developed a taste for hearing, but they can't do much more than that. So then they go there for further perfection. So the spiritual master steers the ship, and we naturally err one way or the other. It's just material well conditioned. We're bound to make mistakes. And we accept that. We don't try to challenge or justify. We accept that we're going off course all the time, and then we can rectify. And if the spiritual master says, like this, and it seems to be too strict, then maybe it's because it's been so loose, and now we're getting pulled back on. It's an interesting Rises, which is an autobiography written by Madhavananda Prabhu, and it's an interesting point in reference to staying on course. So I'll just share that with the devotees if they don't mind. So this was back in the 80s in ISKCON. And he says, they are just tricking and stealing the men of ISKCON. So he's talking now about the Gaudiya Math. So the Gaudiya Math, it was Srila Prabhupada that came across and set up the whole society and spread Krishna consciousness and wrote so many books, did so many things. You okay there, Jayananda? So many things to spread Krishna consciousness, to set the whole thing up, and then they criticized him, and then they came in and they started poaching devotees, saying ISKCON's not. And then and some of them were Guru Govinda Maharaj's disciples. So he says, that isn't horrible and very painful for me. I got such a shock in my heart. Those who are going there are fools. They are fools. I will chastise them. Why are you such fools? How can you believe them? You don't believe Prabhupada, who fulfilled the desire of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Priti Parayanta Yata Achi Deshagram, Sarvatra Sancharahe Ibeka Moranam. Mahaprabhu said, in every village and country on this earth, my name will be preached. Prior to the arrival of my Guru Maharaj in the West, Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada Maharaj had already sent Tirtha Maharaj, Bhakti Hriday Ban Maharaj, and some others to the West. Why weren't they successful? They were sannyasis. They were living in the mount with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. My Guru Maharaj was a grihasta living in his home. But he got the complete mercy of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I will ask them, who came to the West? Who sowed the seed? Who laid the foundation of Krishna consciousness? Who fulfilled the desire of Gauranga Mahaprabhu? Srila Prabhupada was specially empowered. Now you are going elsewhere, leaving the ISKCON camp. You are such fools. Thereby you have committed such an offense. You are saying that Prabhupada only gave elementary knowledge, ABC, nothing higher. You can't understand what he has said. I told the devotees in Europe, the seed of a banyan tree is so tiny, but it contains a great tree inside. It is intolerable for me. As a disciple of my Guru Maharaj and as a member of the ISKCON society, it is my duty to keep up the prestige. Therefore I have come, and I am now doing a very extensive tour. I want to make them mum, shut their mouth. Have you heard of that before? Mum's the word. You know where it comes from? You know, we say mum. Don't make any noise, just mum's the word. It was a phrase they coined. In the, and I think it was the Second World War, they didn't want any secrets getting that out. So they were saying, mum's the word. So instead of saying anything, he just went, So that's a nice way of saying, shut up. Keep your mouth shut. If you're trying to take people away from ISKCON, then shut up. You have nothing to say. At least not in ISKCON anyway. You can go somewhere else and say it, but not here. You're not welcome here. And if you try to deceptively pretend with a show of devotion that you're very surrendered, the actions will speak louder than the words. So the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, very kindly came and gave us this, and now it is our duty not only to accept what Srila Prabhupada has given, but also to protect what Srila Prabhupada has given. And the two camps that we are challenged by are the Ritviks and the Gaudiya Mat. Gaudiya Mat don't have any GBC. They may be trying to get a GBC now, but they never had a GBC, which is what Bhaktisiddhanta wanted. And the Ritviks don't have an Acharya. They only have GBC. But we need a combination of both, personal example and institution. And then between that, we're safe, reasonably safe in Kali Yuga, because there's always difficulties. And there's some very nice books. There's Accepting Shiksha Outside ISKCON. Anyone read that book? It's by Shiva Raj. It's only a small pamphlet. And then Shuddhavati Chintamani. We're studying that on Tuesdays between 7 and 8. And we have a good, strong core of devotees now that are coming every week. Sapano, he's especially enthusiastic to study. And then we have Atavi Krishna, Garangi Mataji from Soho Street. And some of the devotees, Adi Guru comes as well sometimes. And it's Shiva Ramanuja's attempt to safeguard the devotees in ISKCON from being allured away onto seemingly greener pastures. And devotees may be thinking, well, I'm more Rasika. I'm more into the Rasika, and Prabhupada's more Tattva. He's more speaking just the... And therefore I need to go somewhere else. But in the foreword of the book, that devotee who translated Brihad Bhagavatam Rita, he died just recently. You know who that is, Jayananda? Jayananda? Do you know who that is? Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And he writes a nice foreword. He's a very, very learned devotee, and he says devotees have been allured away to seemingly greener pastures, but they didn't realize that what Prabhupada was doing was he was putting the highest truths in his books in such a way that they would only be accessible when the devotee developed sufficient adhika to enter into. And so for the first 10, 20 years, and that's why we're very careful about giving second initiation. We don't give it whimsically. In other mats, they give sannyas and second a lot easier than in ISKCON. We have quite a high standard. And if the devotee doesn't prove himself, and then he's given prematurely some qualifications, some sannyas or some, then we've seen in so many cases of devotees falling very easily. Whereas they may have still been okay if they'd have just gone more slowly. And that's what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted, okay, you just gradually, by small increments, you build up, and then you can look at books like Vilap Kusumanjali when you've been studying your service for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Don't be premature, because if you do, then it will just work out bad for you in the long run, and you'll end up going away from devotional service. And that's what we say, plain as day, over and over and over and over again. And so I'm starting my 5th decade now in Krishna consciousness. But who wants to hear? Who wants to listen to the experience of older devotees? If they do, then they make rapid advancement. If they want to go it on their own and think they know better, then they may come unstuck. And for us, when we joined Krishna consciousness, the oldest devotees had only been in the movement for 10 years. So we were all still learning together. But now as we go on, one of the greatest resources that we have in ISKCON is that we have older devotees who've been on the course and can turn around and say. And so that's why Shuddha Chintamani is a really valuable book, because here's a devotee that's come to the highest position in Krishna consciousness, to be a guru, to be a GBC, to be a sannyasi. And he's telling us how we can navigate through, how we can avoid the pitfalls. The two factions, Gaudiya, Ritvik, and then the Jnana Mishra Bhakti and the Kama Mishra Bhakti is where the devotional service becomes mixed. It's no longer pure faith. You can't have pure devotional service if you don't have pure faith. And that happens by relaxing your vows and then relaxing your attendance to the morning program. And then slowly everything infiltrates. Eventually it culminates in justifying illicit sex and intoxication. They're the main deviations that it culminates in, as you stray off the path of pure devotional service. So a nice point was being made in Shuddha Chintamani that a younger devotee, although having very little knowledge, not knowing very many verses, not really knowing how to do anything, is rendering a higher caliber of pure devotional service than an older devotee whose faith has become mixed, which is interesting. And the older devotee may say, oh yeah, I was enthusiastic like him 20 years ago, but you just watch, in due course of time, he'll end up like me, you know. But a letter is quoted in Shuddha Chintamani from Srila Prabhupada. He says, well, the food right now is fresh, so let us use it. The food may go off in the future, we don't know, but right now it is fresh, so it can be utilized. So in the same way, if a new devotee is very enthusiastic and has very strong pure faith, then he should be shown respect for that and admired and appreciated for his enthusiasm. Srila Prabhupada also said that our success is our enthusiasm. So whatever it is you're doing, you may be passing out millions of books, but if you're not doing it enthusiastically, then it's a failure. And you may not be doing many books at all, but you'll be doing it so enthusiastically. You're really grateful to get the opportunity to do some service. You really appreciate it. And so that devotee, well, whatever the result, his endeavor is, Krishna says, in this endeavor there is no loss or diminution. So in this enthusiasm, this is really what Krishna is looking for. The results may come, the results may go. We're not attached to the result, we're attached to the enthusiastic endeavor. I'm getting a chance to run the service. What happens after that? Maybe I won't look so good, maybe I'll look really good. That's okay. I'm focused on enthusiastic devotional service. That's all I'm looking for, you know. Well, we only have a limited amount of time from now to when we leave our body. We're not sure how long it is. It's measured in terms of our heartbeats and our breaths. That's why some yogis, they can go up in the caves. Prabhupada said at the Kumbh Mela that some of the yogis that were coming down were hundreds of years old. He knew these yogis when he was a child, and they hadn't aged at all, because if you don't breathe, then you don't age. And the yogis can suspend the breath, the incoming and the outgoing, and then they go into trance. And then they can be hundreds of years old and they just look like a young boy. So your life is measured by your heartbeats, your breaths, and you only have a certain amount. How many of those heartbeats and breaths are being wasted in accumulating money or in familial responsibilities? So many justifications. But what it boils down to is this time is being wasted. We'll never get that time back. Whereas if we can engage as enthusiastically and as full-heartedly right now in every opportunity we get for devotional service, and Srila Prabhupada said the real devotional service is preaching. That is the real service. That's the service of the Madhyama Adhikari. Kanishta, they stay back at the temple and they mop the floor and they do their full dandavats everywhere they go, and they're also devotional. But then when it comes to the crunch, they don't want to take the opportunity to preach. They've got more important responsibilities and things to do. And in that way, they waste their time. They waste their human form of life. And, they'll get another birth and they can carry on from there. But at some point, Krishna wants full surrender. So how long before we do that? Before we prolong the agony? As soon as we do it, then immediately it's like, wow, fantastic, because full surrender. Anandam buddhivadhanam pratipadampanam ritvadhanam savatmasnapanam param vijayate. Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. It's an ocean, Anandam buddhivadhanam. It's an ever-increasing ocean of bliss. So just jump in. Sometimes it takes a little while to get used to the ocean because it's a different temperature. So it can be a little bit of a shock to the system. But once you're acclimatized, then it's fine. Any questions or comments? Jayananda, you got one, I can tell by the way you're raising your eyebrows. So when you're playing cartels, the best thing is get your feet in time and play the beat on your hands. Once you can play the beat on your hands, then you can play it on. It's easy to play it on your hands to begin with. Because with the cartels, you can hit them too hard, or you can not make them sizzle. Prabhupada said they should sizzle. There's a certain way to hold them that when they and if you're just clanging away at the same volume all the time, then there's no development in the kirtan. It just starts off, and it just goes like that all the way. Whereas if it's soft, you're keeping your fingers on the cartels and it's subdued, and then as the kirtan starts to build up, then we can make the cartel. Otherwise, it's just the same volume all the time. Then there's no real development of the kirtan. It's just clang, 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 clang all the way through. So sometimes a little bit softer. In the morning, it's Mangalati. Radha and Krishna are just waking up so gently. And then it can become a festive celebration. The fact that there's so few of us just now, we can take that Krishna, he wants to train us nicely so that when new devotees come, we can show them how to do everything nicely. We can train them nicely. Prabhupada wanted it that devotees, you could drop a devotee off at a center, and the devotee would know how to cook, he would know how to offer arati, he would know how to give class, he would know how to sing, play the instruments. So that devotee then becomes like a little guru, and he can go and he can attract other people and start things, That's what Prabhupada wanted his disciples to be like. And in the bigger temples, I always feel like this when I go to Mayapur and Vrindavan. They're so jam-packed. Whereas here, everyone is needed, If you're not here, then there's no kirtan. You're not here, there's no arti. Everyone is very much a significant player in the morning program. But in a bigger temple, you never get a chance to offer arti. You never get a chance to lead the kirtan. You never get a chance to give the class. You're just one amongst the many. And once you've been used to being in a smaller temple, then it's hard to be enthusiastic at the morning program when there's so many there. At least for me, I found that. So you can think, it must be Krishna's special mercy that he's put me in this situation, because Krishna is the expert judge of time and circumstance. And if we can see he's making arrangements for us, and he's also sometimes trying to give us a message, if we can tune into what that is and not impose our plan upon whatever plan Krishna's got. That's sometimes the conflict, is that Krishna's got a plan and we've got a plan, and they're not the same. Shishikonitai Mayapur Shashiki Jai. Now, if you knew what the plan was, what Krishna wanted from you, if you actually knew it, this is exactly what Krishna wants me to do, then there would be no problem. But you don't know the plan. So then the only other way around that is to come in contact with somebody who does know the plan, and then find out from him, what do you think I should be doing? What do you think Krishna wants me to do? And the spiritual master, he can explain. Venus Prabhu, Haribol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think you kind of already answered. I was thinking about, how to think about the future. Because sometimes you have different, you try to plan ahead. Like for example, for myself, I'm thinking if I'm gonna stay in temple all my life, or I'm gonna have family, or things like that. And it's sometimes so how to look at the future,
Well, one way of looking at it is we used to go once a week to the swim baths, and one of the things I like to do is jump in and try and go underwater the whole length. So the easiest way to do that is to go right to the bottom, so that your chest is scraping along the floor. It's easy to do it there, and then you can make rapid advancement, and then you just keep going along. And sometimes if it's a new pool and you're not used to it, you jump in and you're not sure if you can make the distance, but you jump in anyway and you try, and then maybe 3/4 the way along the way you realize you're not going to make it, and then you have to come up for air. So brahmachari is similar to that. You commit to be a brahmachari. I think in the manner they do it there, it's a 2-year commitment. So you just say, okay, 2 years or 1 year, whatever it is, I'm just going to put on saffron and forget about anything else and just go for it. So you do that, and in that year you'll find whether you need to come up for a breath or not. You won't know otherwise. And it may be that year is the best year you've had so far in your life, and you think, my God, maybe I can actually do 3 or 4 lengths, because I don't feel like I need any air at all right now. Maybe I'll commit for 5 years. So then you stay underwater and you go along. And then 5 years later, there's still no problem. It's like, I'm okay, I don't feel like I need to come up for any air. And then you maybe think of being a sannyasi. But you don't know. And everyone should get that training anyway, to become a committed sadhaka. And then if along the way it turns out that you were not able to do it, then okay, so you tried, and then you find out what you can do. Whereas if you never try, and you just, like, I wonder how many devotees would have done Sankirtan if they had the choice, you know. I'd heard about doing Sankirtan when I first came, and I tried it, and it was like, I think I'd like to do something a bit easier, you know, where you can sit down a bit more, like painting. So I wasn't so keen on, and then one day he says, look, just do Sankirtan for a couple of years, and then after that you can do anything you like. That was in '82. So sometimes you kind of trick yourself as well. Say, well, look, we'll just do it for a year, 2 years, and then we'll see, you know. And then that leads into so many more. But if we put ourselves in Krishna's hands and we follow the process, we take shelter of the process, then Krishna will arrange the situation for us. But if I'd have initiated it myself, I was going to just stay back at the temple. I was painting. I did that big painting of Krishna that's in the hallway at the manor, eating butter. And I was just listening to tapes. There was a Prabhupada disciple, Sri Kam. She was also painting. We were listening to Srila Prabhupada. We were in that big, massive hallway in Chaitanya College, and thought, well, this is it, great. You just sit in the palace all day, you get fantastic food, you just paint and listen to Prabhupada. Wow, this is it, great. You know? And I would have just stayed doing that, and then Krishna arranged that I ended up surrendering more than I'd bargained on, you know. I hadn't planned to do Sankirtan for the next however long it was. So we may have our plan, and we may have our estimation of what it is we're capable of doing, and we say to ourselves, no, I can't do that. No, I can't do this. But that's all based upon our estimation of what we think we can do. What you're doing right now, if I'd have told you 5 years ago, this is what you'll be doing, you may have said, no, I don't think I can manage that. You know? So Krishna knows what you're actually capable of doing. So we have to put aside our idea, abandon all varieties of plans, and surrender unto me. And do not fear. So that's what Krishna's saying at the end of the Gita. Just rely on me, fall in with the plan, become malleable. And that's a symptom of somebody that's surrendered, that they have a plan and then it doesn't go according to plan, and they accept that. They don't start moaning and whining and whinging. They just, oh, I had thought I was going to do this today, but this has happened. They immediately adjust. Okay, so that's the order of the day. That's the situation. This is what it demands. Okay, I'm fine with that. And you'll give up whatever it is. A person who's attached, he's very upset when the plan gets changed. That's a symptom of a person that's attached. Oh, but I thought we were going to do this. It's not even the fact that they don't like the new thing that's come up. It's not that they don't even particularly find that unpleasant. It's just, that's not what I'd planned, you know. And so attachment is like, I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer, this is what I've worked out should be going on. And then Krishna's saying, yeah, but I'm actually the enjoyer and I'm the controller. And I don't care what your plan is. This is what's going to happen. And when he showed his Kala Rupa, he showed his universal form to Duryodhana and to Mother Yashoda. She's looking in Krishna's mouth. She sees the universal form. Duryodhana sees the universal form. But what he didn't show them was Kala Rupa. And Kala Rupa he showed to Arjuna. He said, this is the plan. It's not so much this is what's happened. This is what's going to happen. This is what's happened. Because for Krishna, there's no past, present, or future at all now. So he's saying, they're already dead. Do you want to kill them? Or shall I do it? But they're dead. In fact, I do it anyway. I just use you. But I do it anyway. I'm going to be killing everyone on this battlefield. Shall I use you? Or shall I use somebody else? Or something else? That's the only choice. So when he showed his Kala Rupa to Arjuna, then Arjuna was reassured. It's not my decision. It's not should they be killed or shouldn't they be killed. My decision is should I do it or should I not do it? But it's going to happen anyway. So Krishna's the same. He can show you what your life is going to be. Maybe he'll show you the Kalarupa this morning while you're having prasadam, and you'll suddenly say, "Oh, this is what's going to happen. My parents are going to die at this point. My brother's going to have this happen to him. That's going to take place. This is going to happen. I'm going to have this happen to me at this point. Do I want to do that connected to Krishna, or do I want to be disconnected from Krishna?" So we may not know. Arjuna was very fortunate. He knew exactly what was happening, what was going to happen. That's why he was upset when Abhimanyu was killed. And Draupadi, when her sons were killed, obviously Krishna was aware of that. And so she didn't say anything. And by that silence, Krishna says, Draupadi purchased me. And then it turns out, lo and behold, later on, that these 5 sons were sons of the moon god, and they'd been given on the condition that very soon they would go back to him. So there's this extra layer of consideration which we don't have access to a lot of the time. And that's why there needs to be a strong element of faith that, I don't know why we had to go through that, but it must have been for a good reason. And if you stay Krishna conscious all the way through it, then it's always a good reason. If you end up at the end of everything enthusiastic and confident, and that patience, actually, being enthusiastic and confident is reasonably easy, but it gets difficult when it's an extended period of time. It's like there's this guy in Glasgow, and you just pay £10, and he'll give you £100 if you can hang on to the bar for 100 seconds. So everyone's like, no problem. And for the first 20 seconds, I think, I'm going to be getting £100, no problem, So being enthusiastic and confidence, it's okay at first, it's not a problem. But then, as it gets, practically, I've not seen anyone win, and sometimes they're just like 10 seconds to go. And they, even though they want to, their hand they're too weak. It just goes, So that ability to be patient, that is only possible if you have strong faith. If you have strong faith, you can stay enthusiastic and confident. And if the result's not coming, then that's because Krishna wants to strengthen you up. He wants to toughen you up. Because you don't get big muscles by going to a gym where they don't have weights, but they only have balloons at the end of the, it's really nice, it's very easy, but you don't get strong by doing that. You only get strong in the gym where you really have to push. And that means tests, and that means difficulties. And that's how Krishna toughens us up and strengthens us so that at the time of death, we can meet that challenge. Whereas if we have an easygoing life, and everything's fine, it all falls into place, and everything goes according to plan, and we get everything we want, and then we don't really become strong. And when death comes, it will just crush us. It'll be so overwhelmingly frightening and disorientating. They say that death is the culmination of all your fears and all your pain. So you're getting trained now to learn how to deal with that, so that when it does come, you're able to face that challenge. Anti-Kali tamam eva, smaram eva. One who quits his body remembering me alone. So you may remember Krishna, but it may not be Krishna alone. You may remember a lot of things as well as Krishna. And Krishna knows when you're going to leave your body. He is aware of that. We're not. So we need Krishna's help. So that we go to the planet. If you're going to take birth on the planet where Krishna is performing his pastimes and you're 60, then there's a chance that your mother and father are just taking birth now on the planet that you're going to. if you live to your 80. And then you'll be under Govardhan Hill, you'll be stepping into Agasura, all the pastimes will take place and you'll be part of it. And you'll be associating with Prema Bhaktis. Take birth from the womb of a gopi. Any questions or comments?
I think I already asked this question some time ago, but it's, if a Christian knows how you're gonna go, yeah. I mean, you already explained it. Like this is the plan, and we just have the choice to be the instruments or not be the instruments. Like for Arjuna, Krishna can use Arjuna or someone else to execute this plan. So it kind of works the same for us. Like the plan is this, but we just, our choice only affects that we take part of it or we are not taking part of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Krishna knows everything that's going to happen, but he doesn't interfere with your... Krishna, in his Narayan form, he's all-knowing, but Krishna steps out of his Narayan form to have a personal interaction with you. So then you can surprise Krishna. When Gop Kamal went back, eventually back to Goloka, after a lot of, so much stuff he went through, so many births, so much time it took. When he finally went back, he started running toward Krishna. And Krishna was looking, and Krishna, as soon as Krishna recognized him, Krishna started running towards him. And they were both running. And then when they embraced, they both fainted, they both lost consciousness, they both sagging each other's arms. And then when they came around, Krishna says, "Why did you take so long?" So that's Krishna in his personal, not so much the Godhead, but the Supreme Person. And so because he wants to relish the rasa of personal interaction, then he casts aside his Godhead and enters into this realm where he's a person just like you, and he's surprised and he's sad that you took so long to come to him, you know. Whereas Narayan, you come to Narayan and he's like, "Okay, you came exactly when I thought you would. Thank you." It's not the same. Not the same interaction, because he's God, he's all-knowing, you see. And because Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, can do anything that they want, then we're in a very good position here to ask for anything that we want. We can aspire for anything here, anything that we want. And then that can become eternal, which is hard to understand. But it's also hard to understand that life is continually emanating from Krishna, and yet all the life is eternal. Which is outside our jurisdiction of comprehension. Adhoksaja. Adho is beyond, and aksaja is what you can grasp onto. So adhoksaja means don't bother trying to figure this one out. Just accept. You can understand by standing under. The process is to take shelter. If you think, well, I'm not sure about going underneath that Govardhan hill, you know. I mean, look at the size of Krishna. I mean, can you imagine what it must have looked like? The hill was massive, you know, it's like a mountain, had 100 peaks. The sun god would stop to graze his horses as he was going around in orbit. That's how high it was. I mean, you wouldn't even see it from a distance. If it got lifted, you wouldn't even see anything. You can imagine, right? That big. If I went over now and lifted Tin Toe Hill, from here you wouldn't even know, right? And then everyone's saying, run underneath Tin Toe Hill. There's a little boy. He's got it held up, and the little finger was left. Little boy, on the little fingers. Yeah, you better go in there. It's going to be safer. No, I'll just get a really strong umbrella and a dinghy. I'll take my chances. So you run underneath this hill, and then by standing under, then you're able to understand. But if you just try and figure it out, it just seems impossible, inconceivable, incomprehensible. But you just think, no, I'm going to have faith. All the Brajbasis are doing it. If I'm going to get crushed, I'm going to get crushed with everybody else, so that's fine. I just want to stay with them. If that's what they're doing, then I'm going to go with that. And then when they went under, it was a surprise because it wasn't just earth underneath. It was all like beautiful mosaic patterns of floors, and the floor was made of marble, but it was soft to touch. And there was food there, and benches to sit on, and places for the cows to graze. And it was illuminated. And the underside was like a peacock fan. And it was expanding and contracting. And there was Krishna. And everybody could see Krishna, although there was so many of them, they could all just see Krishna. And Krishna looked like he was looking at them. So how do you understand that? Only by standing under. You take shelter of Krishna. ISKCON Govinda ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Karanitai Maya Pashashi ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Bol.
Adhoksaja Krishna ki.
All of you ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.